But the Women Action Takers Facebook group, one thing I really love about it, because it's a place for us to have just women, and who are sharing what they're going through, their challenges in their life. And I don't know if you guys are all on my email list or not, but I sent an email yesterday, and we got Clarissa. I don't know how to say your last name, Clarissa, so I'm not going to try. Christensen. Is it Christensen? Oh my gosh. Okay, I did try and it worked. So we have, Clarissa here today. She interviewed me on her podcast. I can't remember, what's the exact name of it, Clarissa? I'm going to call you Kristen for some reason because your last name.
It's called Thriving Through Menopause.
Yes, Thriving Through Menopause. And, I heard about her podcast, and I take every opportunity to be seen and be heard, because for decades I was terrified to be seen and be heard. I didn't want to put myself out there in any way, shape, or form. So I challenged myself to every opportunity I get, I will share my voice with the world, So I saw that Clarissa had this podcast, and I go, hey, I've gone through menopause, I got this. I can totally, be on this podcast. Now, I'm a very private person when it comes to my personal being life, my mind life, I'm okay with, I can share that all day long. But when it comes to my body and stuff, that's something I've always been private about. Even when I was a kid, I have 3 sisters, and we never dressed in the same room. So it's just been with me forever, right? So I was like, this will be fun. I'm all excited. And then Clarissa and I did the interview, and I realized that, oh my God, I'm really getting into the deep secrets of my life by, being on this podcast. And I'd never experienced that before with a different podcast, because they're all business podcasts that I'm on. We don't talk about that stuff, menopause, And so it was really interesting. What happened was, while I was talking to her, it's one-on-one, I don't mind talking about that stuff. But when it gets into groups, I kind of clam up a little bit. So anyway, we were one-on-one. And then she sent me an email. She said, your podcast episode is live. And I immediately got, I started hyperventilating. I really did. This was just a couple days ago. I started hyperventilating, and I'm like, oh my God, my story about my menopausal journey, so to speak, is out there. And we talk about, sex after menopause. And, this was the topic. I said, hey, let's talk about sex. I put it out there. I said, Clarissa, let's talk about sex after menopause. What was I thinking? I don't know. But my point here is that, we did it. I made it through it. I'm here to live to tell about it. Am I embarrassed about it? No, because it is real. It's my real life. I just share who I am with whoever I'm speaking to. And the messages that I received back from it, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it, because, sometimes when we share our story, there's somebody there that needed to hear it. We don't know who that is unless they reach out to us. We just don't know who it is that's hearing our story and how it's impacting their life. But I did have a couple people reach out to me and said, wow, thank you for sharing, because I'm going through the same thing.
And you were awesome. You were awesome, Linda. You really were. You were just such an awesome guest. So if you haven't heard it, I would encourage you all to listen, because it was just so beautiful the way you talked about it.
Thank you, because it's just not my thing. So I'm sure, here's what's probably going to happen, right? I'll manifest it right now. Here's probably what's going to happen. People are going to start reaching out to me to ask me to be on their sex podcast. I know, we'll see what happens. Oh, how do we hear the podcast? Go ahead and drop the link in there, Clarissa, the link. Yeah, just, spend the next hour trying to find it.
No. I have it on my media network.
There we go. So it's really cool, because, when I started sharing my story in different ways, I started speaking about 6 years ago. And what I found was, just by, being vulnerable, open, honest, sharing from the heart, this is how we make our connections with people. And I started saying just recently, it's our relation points that create our relationships. And I wanted to talk about this just a little bit today before our speaker comes and joins us. We're not going to do this the way that we normally do, which is, go through our 30-second commercial and then the speaker. I want to have him speak, at the beginning, because I have a feeling you're going to have some questions for him. And I want to make sure you have an opportunity to ask as many as possible, because Dan is amazing. He'll be hopping on here soon. But, it's our relation points that create our relationships. And I had the other day, this woman that I met maybe 2 years ago in person. And then I haven't heard from her at all on Facebook, nowhere. And then out of the blue, she sent me a message, and it was, hey, I've got this thing, I'm selling this thing, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. And I just said, no, thank you. Because I'm not interested in the product. Right. So then the next day I got another message that was almost identical to the first message. And I said, no, thank you. And then another day later, the same thing. So, she's doing something where she's got her campaign, she's busting her hump to get these sales. And I get it. We all in business need to make sales. But if you're speaking to somebody who isn't interested in what you have, first of all, they're not going to buy from you. But second of all, have you spent any time to create that relationship? Like, what are relation points? So at the very beginning here, I talked about, how I was interviewed, on Clarissa's podcast. We were talking about menopause. So any of you who have gone through menopause, who have already gone through it, you're going to be like, ooh, maybe I want to go listen to that podcast. Any of you who are on the verge of maybe going through menopause might be saying, maybe I should go listen to that, see what it's all about, because this is a relation point that we can create with each other, right? So this, just talking about menopause, just Dan's here. Hey, Dan, I'm sure you've heard of menopause talk before. We got manopause. But that's a relation point. Whenever I tell my story and I tell how I ran away when I was 5 years old and I was gone for an entire week, that's a relation point, because many of you have probably run away at some point in your life. Right. So we can create a bond there, because this is an experience I experienced. And if you have the sort of similar experience, or my son ran away when he was 7, so maybe you have a child who ran away. So there's, again, what we're doing is we're creating relation points through our stories. And so this is why storytelling is really, really important. And Dan is a master storyteller. So I'm super excited to have him here today. And I'm, hoping that you guys are ready to take some notes. If you have any questions for him, I want you to pop them in the comments, in the chat there, because I want to give him time to not only share what he's going to share. I've seen him speak several times, and this man just, when he walks into a room, first of all, he's like 8 feet tall. And, when he walks into a room, he really does take up the room. And here you'll never know how tall he really is, because we're not live with him. So you're just going to take my word for it. He's 8 feet tall. He's not really that tall, but he's very tall. I'm only 5'3". So, but when he walks into a room, he really literally fills up that room with, who he is, this just a man of big stature, And so I'm super excited to introduce him, and I'm hoping that, Dan, you can come on, unmute yourself and come on the screen. And are you wearing your Zoom pants today? Yeah, there he is.
You're so funny. My Zoom pants.
You might need to bring your microphone a little closer so we can hear you a little better.
No, I just need to turn on my microphone. Who would have thought?
There we go. So first, I want to welcome you, Dan, to the Women Action Takers Network group. We are a bunch of women, and I invite my wild card men in to speak, because, I've met so many incredible men who are supportive of women. And, why would I hold you guys back from showing up to this event, right? So I'm super excited to have you here. Some of you have heard Dan speak, and some of you haven't. But Dan, I'm going to give you a proper introduction here. So I told everybody how you're 8 feet tall already. I already told them how when you walk into a room, your stature, you really do light up. It really does light up a room. It's so amazing. But I have I'm going to read this because we're going to do this the proper way. Okay, ladies. So Dan Clark is the founder and CEO of a multi-million-dollar international communications company. a university professor, high-performance business coach, alumnus of the University of Utah in psychology, podcast host, gold record songwriter, filmmaker, award-winning athlete who fought his way back from a paralyzing injury that cut short his football career, New York Times best-selling author of 35 books, a primary contributor author to the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and was named 2012 Utah Father of the Year. Since 1982, Dan has spoken to more than 6,000 audiences, to over 5 million people in 71 countries on 6 continents, to most of the Fortune 500, Super Bowl champions, NASA, $1 Million Roundtable, the United Nations, and multiple times to our combat troops in Iraq, Afghanistan, Europe, Asia, and Africa. In 2005, Dan was inducted into the Professional Speakers Hall of Fame and has been named one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the world. As a master storyteller, Dan has been published in more than 50 million books in 50 languages worldwide. Has appeared on over, what?
That's so more than enough.
Hey, hold on a second. I'm introducing you. Give me a second here.
My own funeral.
That's right. This is your, wait, we're almost done. We're almost done. Has appeared on over 500 television and radio shows, including Oprah, Glenn Beck, and NPR, and has been featured in Success, Entrepreneur, Forbes, Inc., Thought Masters, Nugent, Mayo Clinic, and Millionaire Magazine. So let's welcome a funny man with a serious message, Dan Clark. Woo!
So kind, Linda.
There we go.
You know what is so crazy, Linda, is I remember the specific times we met.
So do I.
Well, Dr. Jim Rohn, he's the one that made famous that we become the average of the 5 people we associate with the most. Which means we must be willing to pay any price and travel any distance to associate with extraordinary human beings.
That's
Even
true.
online, so congratulations for this program.
Thank you.
It is crazy how, you know, you say I'm a big man, I'm 6'5", come on, 8 feet, sounds like I'm a freak. 6'5's a little more normal. But I remember meeting you, and it's crazy how I believe in my heart of hearts that the purpose of every single relationship, personally and professionally, is to have everybody leave us saying, I like me best when I'm with you, I want to see you again. I like me best when I'm with you, I want to see you again. So you wonderful women gathered here this morning or in the midday, I don't want you to think I'm a walking cliche, I'm a songwriter. And what sells the song is the hook. It's the catchy phrase that we remember, that we can easily repeat. And so over the years, I've taken great pride in writing my own little quotes that hopefully are worth hanging your hat on. And that was actually the lyric to one of my better songs. I like me best when I'm with you, I want to see you again. And I think that that would be a perfect place for me to start, from which I could start, if that's okay. Because I understand you're all very, very powerful, strong women. You're all very accomplished entrepreneurs, maybe serial entrepreneurs, which means through our lenses as serial entrepreneurs, we're always trying to fix something. We're always trying to see a niche and how we can make that person better, how we can make that situation, that product, that service better. And in that mindset, maybe I could drag you into my favorite world of music. I'm coming to you from my library. This is my man cave, my I Love Me cave, where I've had a chance to go down range and speak to our combat troops on 8 different military tribute tours to Iraq, Afghanistan, all over Southwest Asia, Southeast Asia, you know, Europe, Africa. I love our troops. I honor our military. And I have all the models of the fighter jets I've flown and the bombers I've flown. I had a chance to soar to the edge of space. I might share that experience because it blew my mind forever, seeing the curvature of the earth for 5 hours. But I'm only illuminating what my background is because every single one of these military coins, which are given to you for going beyond the call of duty. Every single one of these photographs, every single one of these model planes that commemorate my flights in these fighter jets and bombers is just a single object, but when you look at it, it immediately triggers an entire story to Linda's preamble about the significance of identifying our stories, honing in on our signature stories, perfecting and polishing those stories so that we feel comfortable in sharing our stories with the world, because we know that we can actually change the world one story, one moment, one song, one book, one speech, one podcast, one mastermind at a time. And having said that, I really want to drag you into the world of music, because Trisha Yearwood, I'm a country songwriter. My publishing deal was with Sony BMG in Nashville. And Trisha Yearwood made famous singing the song Remembers When. You know, it's the story, it's the coin, it's the photograph. And if we can start thinking like songwriters, not only will we become the ultimate entrepreneur, but we'll actually be able to reach our ultimate capacity and potential as human beings. So if you will, allow me to drag you into the world of music.
Yes, please.
I love asking my audiences, how many notes are there in music? And most people flippantly respond 7, because they only count the major notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And isn't that a report card on life? That all of us have been raised to believe, don't sweat the small stuff. And yet in my experience, it's the small stuff that really makes the difference. It's the little things that ruin a relationship. It's the sarcastic comments that we think are funny that are actually borderline sexist. It's the little thoughts or we think minute actions of racism that eventually turn into something larger than we ever anticipated. And as a songwriter, we have to understand that therein lies the solution to what's facing our society, what's facing our personal and professional relationships. And let me explain why. There are not 7 notes in music. Contraire mon frère, in the year 1685, a very famous music composer of Western Europe decides he wants more options. He's the guy that put the black keys on the piano. So if I somehow set up my computer this morning in my recording studio downstairs, you could actually see the 88 keys on a piano keyboard, where you can see there are 7 white notes and 5 black notes, a total of 12 notes in music. What the heck does that have to do with our conversation this morning? Everything. Every song written in any genre, in any language, was written with the same 12 notes. Do you know this? The only difference between one song and another song is the order in which those 12 notes fall and the timing and spacing in between the notes. So the question of the day is, what's the difference between a hit songwriter and a lousy songwriter? They have access to the same 12 notes. What's the difference between an amazing banker and a lousy, average, crusty old banker when they have access to the same interest rates in the same economy? What's the difference between a wannabe entrepreneur and someone who actually figures out a way to turn her dream into a reality? The answer is exactly the same. The difference between a hit songwriter and a lousy songwriter is passion, creativity, and imagination. So the foundation that I want to lay right now for our conversation today is that the next time someone says to you, you got to think outside the lines, you got to think outside the box, I would hope that you would join me as a maverick renegade in the back of the room and say, what happens? What if the answers are still in the box? Most people who come to trainings or come to speeches come in search of the new answers. Come on, Clark, give me the pixie dust. What's the secret sauce? We come to trainings and meetings and seminars and speakers in search of the new answers, ready to take copious notes, when in reality, don't you think we ought to come in search of the right answers? And the right answers have always been right, or we can't call them right. Which means instead of us focusing in on talking about cultural diversity, which forces us to look at the things that make us different, I've been on a 35, 40-year mission on talking about cultural commonality, what makes us the same. And if I may drag you into the world of country music and just share the lyrics to one of my more popular love songs, I think it's my best love song. It's called Real Man. And visualize Faith Hill singing and not me. I need a man who knows happily ever after is a day at a time proposition. A man who knows making love is not a 3-minute composition. It's a slow dance full of romance, a walk on the beach in the sand. It's having a whole conversation just by holding my hand. He would stir deep desire that sets me on fire to be with him all that I can. No, I won't settle for anything less than a real man. Chorus. A real man strong in stature, firm in faith, and kisses slow. He sometimes cries, and when we hug, he's the last one to let go. Worshiping the ground I walk on, he's my biggest fan. There's nothing like being loved by a real man. Second verse. I need a man who knows honoring me is a macho disposition. A man who knows I love you is a more than words rendition. It's roses for no reason, secret love notes in my drawer. It's making me his equal, though he always gets my door. He would never raise his hand to me, believe in who I am. Yeah, I can be more than I thought I could be with a real man. Chorus. A real man bridge. He talks to me through touch. I'm swept away in every clutch. We're lovers, but we're best friends too. I like me best when I'm with you. I don't need to quote the chorus again. I was interviewed on country radio in Nashville, Tennessee, and they said, how does a linebacker write a song like that? I said, it was easy. I made a list of things I wasn't, and then I decided that I could become them. Not because it's expected by someone else in my life, not because it's expected by my significant other or my spouse, but because it's demanded of myself. So with all due respect to having all of you on this call, women, amazing, strong, powerful women, I just wanted to share those lyrics so that you know my mission is to elevate our equality and always put women on a pedestal. I honor you, and I am the biggest fan in the entire world of women in business. And having said that, may I just share 2 other experiences that will help you understand, and then maybe I'll just quiet down for a moment and you can ask me a question, Linda, or maybe get some feedback from your wonderful guests. Actually, if I could be so bold, I want to just give you three quick experiences. First one, I was the keynote speaker at the first ever military women's symposium in Washington, D.C. I was the only male in the entire room, 3,000 women in uniform. Whoa, what a sight. And one of my dearest friends was 3-star General, Air Force General Maggie Woodward. Known each other forever, spoken for all of her different commands. The first female combatant commander in the history of war, of the world. And she's in the audience, and I wanted to just single her out and pay a compliment. So in front of the entire 3,000, I said, with all due respect, all of you from all the other services, in my experience, General Maggie Woodward is the finest and most amazing female general officer in the entire United States military. And she stands up and interrupts my speech. And she says, Danny. So I knew I was in big trouble. She says, Danny, I'm not a female general officer. I'm a general officer who just happens to be a female. And don't you ever forget it. And I'm like, yes, ma'am, I get it. What a one moment in time teaching moment that truly transformed my lenses, clarified how I look at world work in every aspect of it, and why it should be obvious equal pay for equal work, equal pay for equal anything. Because in my experience in the United States Air Force flying all these jets, when you climb into a cockpit of a fighter jet, It doesn't care if you're man or woman, male or female. It does not care if you're black or white. It does not care about your sexual orientation or your religious credo. The jet does not care. Are you qualified to take that jet supersonic Mach 2 with your hair on fire? And when you finally land after mission is accomplished, and you climb down that ladder and whip off your helmet and shake your hair and freak out every male Marine standing there on the tarmac, good for you. And God bless you for getting into the fight and proving how powerful and amazing you really are. Now, having said that, let me just mellow us out a little bit. A few years ago, I was the keynote speaker at an international conference in Buffalo, New York on eating disorders. And so as a professional speaker, I read everything I could get my hands on to understand anorexia and bulimia. So I could show up and speak as one having authority, at least with understanding, and I could connect and communicate. And when I showed up for about the first 15 to 20 minutes before I was introduced as the keynote speaker, everyone who stood at the microphone kept calling it an eating disorder, and it doesn't have one thing to do with food. So when I stood up and I was introduced and I took the stage, for the first 10 minutes, I was doing my thing, interacting with the audience, we're laughing a little bit, trying to make points. And the entire time I'm developing my rapport, my head's on a swivel, and I'm in search of one woman who I could tell from stage is super strong, super confident, borderline sassy, amazingly smart, that I could interact with in front of the thousands in this arena, packed with thousands of young men and young women battling anorexia and bulimia, thousands of concerned parents, thousands of healthcare professionals and therapists, all gathered for the right reason, for the same reason at that same time. And about 10 minutes into my rapport, maybe 15 minutes, I focused it on this woman. And let's just call her name Linda, spelled with a Y because she's so cool it can. And so in front of everyone, I said, ma'am, do you mind if I interact with you in front of the arena? And she said, no problem, please. I said, what is your name? She said, Linda. I said, I want to ask you some questions. You don't have to actually verbally answer, but would you answer with your eyes and with your smile and with your nod, with your body language, with your facial expressions? And I invited everyone else in the audience to answer the questions to themselves. I said, Linda, are you tall or are you short? Are you wide or are you thin? Are you fast or are you slow? Are you smart or are you stupid? Are you pretty or are you pretty ugly? Says who? Compared to what? If somehow we could magically transport Linda to that deserted island where she had no access to fashion magazines, no access to those Photoshop Twiggy models that are non-existent, would she not wake up every single morning and say, I am woman, hear me roar, I am smart, I am talented, I never say never, I'm wanted, important, lovable, capable, and I can succeed, I love music, I'm a great athlete, and I'm gonna get good grades in school. I never say I can't, I always say I can, I will. If I fall down or get knocked down, I just get back up and go again. If I spill or make a mistake, I clean it up, learn why, and say no big deal. I love God, He loves me. So I treat others as they want to be treated. So when they're away from me, I always say I like me best when I'm with you. I want to see you again. That was the Clark Credo on which we raised our 4 children, and they repeated it every single night before they went to bed. And now we're empty nesters, and as adults with children of their own, my grandchildren can repeat back to me when I say, Aubrey, who are you? Papa, I'm smart, talented, and I never say never. I'm wanted, important, lovable, capable, and I can succeed. And they go on. And there's no secret why my 4 children are amazing, significant human beings. Because we need to take the time to believe and understand that the way we think matters. It's the belief of the leader that creates the leader. It's the belief of the leader that creates the expectation. And it's the expectation that creates the behavior. We cannot coach results, we can only coach behavior. We can't say to our children, go out and make responsible decisions. What the heck does that mean? As a sports coach, I can't say to my players, go out and win. What the heck does that mean? As a corporate leader in business, entrepreneurs, we can't say to someone, go out and win more market share, sell more. What the heck does that mean? We can only coach behavior, and behavior is 100% created and sustained through our belief. Think about it. The things we call things, the labels we give things, the way we define experiences or emotions in our life changes our behavior, creates it and sustains it. For example, a good friend of mine, Dr. Terry Lyles, he wrote a great book called Performance Under Pressure. He points out that in the world of business, we call stress. But in the world of sports, we call stress competition. In the world of leadership, we call stress urgency. We have a deadline. We got to wake up early, stay up late. We got to focus. We got to just figure out what we have to do. With a different mindset, it is not enough to say, I will do my best. We must succeed in doing that which is necessary. How about COVID crisis? If you call it a crisis, it destroys our possibility thinking. What happens if we just up-level that perception with the understanding that crisis does not make or break the man or woman, it just reveals the true character within. That adversity introduces us to ourselves. No one will ever know how strong we are until being strong is our only choice. Does that make sense? So the last experience will blow your mind, and I cannot wait. Because when I said, and I paid attention, especially to Linda, our sunshine girl, I paid attention to her face because I was using her namesake to make my point with this experience, speaking at the International Conference on Eating Disorders. I still remember when I was interacting with this woman in Buffalo, and I said, are you smart or are you stupid? Even Linda on screen today kind of went, like, really? Are you really going to go there? Are you really going to use that word? Which allowed me to quote Einstein, who said, everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its entire life believing it is stupid. We have got to stop competing and comparing ourselves against someone else. Because one of the mantras on which we raised our 4 children is the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Do you believe that? Do you believe that one moment in time can change us forever, that no matter what your past has been, you have a spotless future? I do. Let me give you a quote and share a story and then turn the time back over to Linda. One of my favorite quotes, time is so significant in our lives because it's one of those elements, one of those timeless truths that makes us all the same. The cultural commonality of time. Today, you've never been this old before. And today, you'll never be this young again. So right now matters, and every right now matters. Which means no matter what your past has been, you have a spotless future, which means you can't always control what happens, but you can always control what happens next. Are you with me? Proof. If you believe that you could actually click off your computers today and be different than you've ever been before, then we are using our time wisely. If not, I don't even know why we clicked on the Zoom. Proof. The one moment in time changes everything. A few years ago, I was on the program with Henry Winkler, famous actor. We all are familiar with him. If you don't know who he is, you're way too young. You need to Google him. He's one of the coolest guys who ever lived. Started in a 1970s television sitcom called Happy Days. He played the coolest guy on the planet, the Fonzie. Hey, whoa. A few years ago, Henry Winkler and I, we finished our speeches. He decides he wants to take some time off, treat himself to a matinee movie. So we slide in through the side exit door of the theater. And as we shuffle ourselves through the aisle, we find ourselves vacant seats. As we turn to sit down in the chair to look up at the movie screen, the little girl sitting right behind us smiles this giant smile, points her finger and slowly says, Fonzie. Henry Winkler immediately snaps into the Fonzie character from Happy Days. Hey, whoa. and the lady sitting next to the little girl passes out. Henry Winkler milks the moment. Whoa, I thought this only happened on TV drama. Hey, how cool is this? Whoa. Theater manager comes out to take care of the woman's needs. She's lying in the aisle, cold pack on her forehead. She's asked one question. Why did you pass out? She said, my little girl is autistic. And that is the very first word she has ever spoken in her entire life. If you remember nothing else I say today, my friends, please acknowledge time. That one moment in time can change everything. It can change our relationships. It can change anger into love. If we spend our lives in anger and holding a grudge, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. There's so many things we need to bring to the surface in order to make every single one of these Zoom calls, these Linda mind shares, as powerful and as life-changing as possible. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm flattered that Linda, you would, out of the clear blue, you reached out to me and said, will you join my group? And I said, it's an honor, because I hope you understand how much I honor women, how much I honor women in business and business women. And when I'm out there on the speaker circuit, I love quoting my song, Real Man, trying to inspire men to up their game, because in the law of attraction, we don't attract who we want, we attract who we are. We attract what we believe we deserve. And when we have a conversation, I used to counsel a whole lot of what we called young single adults between the ages of 18 and maybe 31. They were all single. And we would always get to that conversation about finding a perfect spouse, finding that perfect person, that our person. And I love to play the game, because I would ask all of the people, we'd segregate the men and have a conversation in front of the women, segregate the women, have the conversation in front of the men. And the question was, let's make a list on the whiteboard. Let's make a list of all the qualities that you think you need in a significant other, in a spouse, in that perfect person. And we would make a list. And we'd always start with the guys on purpose. We'd make this list. And then I'd stop and I'd say, okay, how many of you actually possess these same character traits and qualities that you expect in finding your perfect person? And the entire emotion of the room would just go down the tube. They're looking at me like, really? You see what I'm saying? In the law of attraction, we have to start with ourselves. And instead of worrying about strategic direction and where we're going and what it's going to look like when COVID's over with, what we have to do in every one of these podcasts, in every one of these Zoom meetings, in every one of these masterminds, in every one of Linda's visionary experiences to uplift all of us, we've got to answer just one question, because it's the only thing we can control. Where are you right now? Let me illustrate. When my Aunt Lucy was 63 years old, she started walking 5 miles every day. Now she's 91 and we don't know where she is. I think that's funny. But we laugh with the understanding that it's the number one limiting belief that holds us back. Always wondering where we're going to be. What are we going to do? No. Where are you right now is like ordering an Uber ride that requires that you enter in your current location. And if you lie about where you are, the directions won't work. Back to you, my dear friend, mentor, guru, oracle, sage, Linda with a Y.
Oh my gosh, ladies, was that amazing or what? Oh my gosh. Oh, Dan, first of all,
Thank
there
you.
we go. There we go. Unmute yourself. I gotta say, did you see Cynthia and Patty? They have like these little stick emojis. Isn't that cool?
Love it. Yeah, I love you, Miss Peel and Paula. I mean, Pal. These are great signs. I'm not dissing you, Lorna. I'm not dissing you, Clarissa. You just don't have the signs. Maybe you could just give me a thumbs up. It's okay. I've been watching. Trust me. And when you smiled, I got it. It's okay.
That's so fantastic. I love it. So what I want to first ask is, if you ladies, if you have any questions, you raise your hand. This is, Q&A time. We want to take it, we want to take advantage of Dan as much as we possibly can. And that rhymes. I'm going to put that in a song.
Yeah, I'll have to click off and write a new song if this goes as well as I hope.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, Dan, because I met you. I saw you at a couple different events. Your first was at Secret Knock. That was the first place we met. And you walked into the room and I was like, wow, I don't know who this guy is. I hadn't seen your face yet. I'd only spoken with you on the phone and emails. And like, wow, look at this guy. He just walks in and he just, huge smile and just really brightened up the room. And one thing I'd like to ask you is you experienced something at a very, very young age as a child. And I'd love for you to tell the story about, how you went through that experience. What was it like? And then for you to get to where you are today. I know that's like a long story, but you can shorten it.
Make it short, but actually, I don't know a lot of the details. I battled cancer when I was 12, when I was 8. And you don't have a lot of memories you have, recollections of the hospital and the conversations that the doctors and nurses didn't think you heard. That's so amazing as an 8-year-old kid in 3rd grade, you can reflect back on that. But as I've tried to evaluate my life and turn it into stories, as you were talking about, that I could share, it was the first time in my life that I really understood fear. And when I recovered, incidentally, the cancer was in my throat and it was on the wall of my vocal cords. And one more day, if I hadn't turned the corner on that specific day, it would have destroyed both of my vocal cords and I would never have been able to sing or speak. Right now, my voice is pretty raspy. I did a 4-hour training for a company yesterday in Canada on Zoom. And there's a quality of figuring out how to make love with the camera that's different than speaking belly to belly to a live audience, and takes so much more out of you. So please forgive my voice. But, in that experience, my sweet mother, she's still 92 years old and she saved everything from back in the day. And she, God bless her, she saved all of the get well cards that my classmates wrote me in the 3rd grade when I was 8, when I was in the hospital. And they got to put a smile on your face. Dan, you were a great friend. I'm sorry you're going to die. All these just wonderful messages from my classmates that now make me smile. I'm like, really? Yeah, Dan, sorry you're going to die. There was like 5 or 6 of them. And I'm like, really? Where's that happy smiley face there, Cynthia? I needed you in my life. But maybe let me just cut to a vulnerable observation that's illustrated with my life-changing story. As a storyteller, and I've written 35 books, but what I love to do is I love to coach people on public speaking. I love to help you find your stories if I can ever help any of you. And where we begin is not trying to find the life lessons and the principles or truths that we want to share in a book or in a speech. What we have to do is just itemize our life experiences and then go back and figure out what life lessons we learned from those experiences. And especially starting with what we call significant emotional experiences. Psychologists call them SEE, significant emotional events. And what a significant emotional event is, it's an experience that we can actually quantify how we believed and how we behaved before it occurred, and how we now believe and think differently and behave and act differently because it occurred. 2 operative words, before and because. And those are significant emotional events that literally change our lives. And they don't have to be something as magnanimous as getting hit by a bus or surviving cancer. Remember what Maggie Woodward taught me about female general officers who just happen to be female. And that changed me forever, one moment in time. So as I look back on my life and I analyze we men, most men, they go through what is classified as a as a midlife crisis. And in my observation, most men go through a midlife crisis when they're about 50. And my definition of a midlife crisis is where the man you are comes face to face with the man you could have been. And most men have their midlife crises at 50 or 55. I had mine when I was 23. I played football forever. And one day in practice, the dream ended. We had a tackling drill. Coach blew the whistle. Two of us ran into each other full speed. It's just the only parts of our bodies that made contact. Lyle's helmet crashed into my helmet in a violent head-on collision. My right shoulder was smashed into the cutting edge of my fiberglass pads, and we slammed to the ground. And when he got off of me, when Lyle got off of me, my eye drooped. I had loss of speech. I couldn't talk anymore. My right side was paralyzed, and my arm dangled helplessly at my side. Coach comes running over. Clark, you all right? What happened? Rakasho Rokusha from our right. He says, wow, are you from San Diego? I'm just kidding you. He says, you better just lay there. I said, whew. A doctor that was present on the field, he came over and he examined me, pulls the coach aside. He says, Clark's got serious nerve damage. In fact, he might even have serious brain damage. Coach looks at him and says, how will we ever know? Nice guy. Finally, my eye went back to normal. My speech came back. I could talk again. But my right side stayed paralyzed and my arm just dangled at my side. I talked to it and it wouldn't move. It scared me to death. Let me fast forward. I stayed paralyzed for 14 months. I went to 16 of the very, very best doctors in all of North America, 15 of whom told me I would never get any better. Have you ever heard that? And what happens if you believe it? You never get any better. And I hit what I thought was a quickly fast-moving downward spiral until I hit what I thought was rock bottom. Now that I've recovered, the most frequently asked questions are these. Clark, why did you keep going to so many doctors? I kept going from doctor to doctor until I found one who believed I would get better. See why I emphasize belief in every speech and every book? Second question, why did you stay paralyzed for so long? I confused who I was with what I did. I thought I was a football player when in reality, that's just what I did. It's not who I am as a man. And when we identify ourselves in terms of what we do instead of who we are, we become a human doing instead of a human being. Unacceptable of significance is what we seek. And the last question, how did you recover? I had to realize that there's a giant difference between being depressed and being disappointed. Huge difference between being depressed and being discouraged and being sad. I didn't need medication that flatlines my human spirit to fight or flee. I need to surround myself with those 5 people who would continuously remind me, Clark, you can't quit. It's a league rule. The best is yet to be. I was asking the wrong questions, my friends. That's why I stayed paralyzed for so long. You see, I was asking the doctors how to get better when I should have been asking myself why. And once we answer why, figuring out the how to becomes clear and simple. Not easy. The hard is what makes it great. We still have to do hard things and put in the work. But once I clarified my why, and I knew it was my why, and I knew that my why was now bigger than my why not, that winning was personal, the how to became clear and simple. So before I turn it back over to Linda for another question, let me just pinpoint why I said I thought I downward spiraled and thought I hit rock bottom. Family experience. Before COVID-19, we had all of our children in town for a big feast. I'm coming to you from my library across my front entranceway. We have a formal dining room, and we love to play a family icebreaker game called Remember When. And our children have invited some of their friends to join us, and it's a huge feast. It's a Sunday. We're just chilling out. Excuse me. And Remember When is played where we go around the table and everybody takes a turn. I remember when I was 9, blah, blah, blah. I remember when I was 14. Comes to my turn. I remember when I came home from high school with a report card with 4 F's and 1 D on it. My dad's response, son, looks to me like you're spending too much time on one subject. Ha, that's funny. And my mom thought I cheated. It was a tough household. We're going around the table and we come to my daughter's friend and she starts crying. She starts sobbing. And I said, are you okay? And she says, no. She said, I'm 31 years old and I just got divorced. She said, I was just fired from my job and my mother was just diagnosed with breast cancer. And through her tears and sobs, she says, I've hit rock bottom. What would you have said? In that moment in time, we have to rise to the occasion. We have to give some counsel. And it's not rah counsel. You'll be okay. In that flash of inspiration, I said, sweetheart, with all due respect, no one ever hits rock bottom. We hit rock foundation. We hit rock belief. We hit the baseline core values on which we were raised. And in our situation right now with our economy going south, and so many struggling just to keep their heads above water, when our organizations or our entrepreneurial dreams seem to have hit a big giant bump in the road, we have to understand that our organizations never hit rock bottom. They hit rock foundation. They hit the baseline governing principles on which they were built. So my question to bring it back to Linda, are your current beliefs deep enough, strong enough, and true enough to empower you and equip you to respond to rapid change? If not, why not? And if when, why not right now? Because I guarantee that if you're not failing a few times, it means you're not pushing yourself hard enough. And in the world of entrepreneurship, guaranteed there's going to be another pandemic somewhere down the road. So we've got to change our mindset right now. And may I give you a suggestion? Under pressure, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your level of training, which means pressure is not something that's naturally there. It's created when you question your own ability. And when you know what you've been trained to do, there's never any pressure. That's why we train and practice so hard, which is the benefit of COVID. It's really not a crisis, it's a pause and purge. And as a songwriter, it brings forth 3 magical E's that allow us to remember our conversation. The first E, during this COVID-19, it's a chance for us to evaluate our current beliefs, evaluate our friendships, evaluate our current situation. How about our current understanding and commitment to physical fitness, continuous education, deeper spirituality, emotional stability, family togetherness, financial literacy, social networking, fun and recreation, and charitable giving, my 9 truly powerful aspects of life that allow us to become that significant human being that we dream to be. The second E is to eliminate limiting beliefs, eliminate all of the negative influences in our lives. Everybody's so excited to rush back to normal, and I'm reminding the world what part of normal is worth rushing back to. And the third E, elevate our performance with that little formula: belief, expectation, behavior. You can't coach results, you can only coach behavior. We've got to focus in on what you currently believe right now. And if you don't click off this computer and say, I am woman, hear me roar, look out, baby, here I come. I'm gonna hop on a plane and come to wherever you are, knock on your door, and hug you until you catch on.
Oh, that might make us not want to do that just so you'll come over.
You're so bad.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore.
Listen to you sing, girl.
Good old Helen Reddy, man.
Whoa.
I don't sing country though. I prefer rock and roll. Sorry, but I do love country. It's awesome music.
It's funny. I'm a rhythm and blues guitar player, and I write country music. Go figure. I just can't think like Beat It, or I can't write lyrics that shallow. That just bothers me some. Sorry.
I started playing bass guitar at age 47. We should get together and jam, man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, good for you. Excuse us, ladies. We're just having a little intimate moment here.
Exactly. Oh, so Dan, first of all, I want to go into questions. I'd like to know if any of you ladies have any questions. There have been some amazing comments. I'm streaming this live onto Facebook as well. And they're, commenting over there. Mind blown, tuned in late, but love what I've heard so far. Fully agree with
start over with hello, Dan. My pleasure.
Hello, Dan. I want to know that you really do remember times you met me. That's all I care about. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you.
It's really amazing because there are certain people in our lives, that we meet these people, and there's something about it. There's, like I was mentioning at the very beginning of this show, I like to call it not a networking event, but a networking show. At the beginning of this show, I was talking about relation points, and there are these points in our lives that create those relationships, because if we don't relate to each other, we can't really create relationships, right? And so it's really cool because having this opportunity to meet you and, to not only see you speak and the impact that you make, but really when I met you in person, you just are such a personable person. I've met a lot of people who speak and are not the same person in person as they are on stage. But Dan Clark is the same exact person wherever you meet him, which is, just a testament to who you are and what you've gone through and all these brilliant things. But I just want to know, where can I find the lyrics to Real Man? So that's one of the questions that came up.
Crazy. You know what you can do? You can go to my website, danclark.com.
Yes.
At the top, you can click on Meet Dan, which gives you a chance to click right into my music page. And you could actually, I guess, I don't know if I've ever published on my website the lyrics. A few people asked, so I would send it, but at least you can click on the recording of Real Man and bring, if you have a man in your life, if you choose to have a man in your life, maybe it's time for you to drag him in and force him to listen to that song before you start to beat the crap out of him. I'm just kidding. Lorna's looking at me like, yeah, I thought about that for a long time.
I love it. I love it. You do have a video on there. Do you think we should play that video right now, or should I have that be like your outro?
No, I don't need that. No.
Okay, so if you want to see what video we're talking about, you got to go to danclark.com. Just, check it out. There's a lot of information about and Dan there.
My email is dan@danclark.com. And if you just want to shoot me a little, please send me the lyrics to Real Man. I could do that. No problem.
And he does respond to his emails. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here right now. So let's see. Ruth has her hand raised. So Ruth, you have your hand raised. You want to unmute yourself, or is that like that's so cool.
What a beautiful name. I love Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I just got home. I was hoping to make it, so I was listening on Facebook. I was about to cry just a few minutes ago. You are amazing. As people like you, like Linda, and many of these amazing women that are here that continue giving me all the energy that I have the energy, but I feed myself from all these amazing people like you. I was coming out of a hotel right now, making a business deal.
I love it.
2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I was cleaning houses, and I just went through some stuff. But what you said earlier about like I'm capable, what I believe and who I am, is not based on other people or what I mean to other people, but what I believe I am. And it's just amazing to be able to hear people like you. I love the fact that I can listen to you. I dream of meeting you, talking to you. I'm on other amazing speakers, but actually, Linda, thank you. You tricked me today because I saw the heading that says at Linda's house, and I was somewhere in downtown San Diego, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go to her house. And then I see that it's online, and I see Dan Clark, and I was like, oh my gosh, oh, this is so awesome. So I love it. You make my weekend. Thank you both. Thank you, and all you amazing ladies here. I'm gonna send you an email, Mr. Clark. Just wanna share some stuff with you and how you have inspired me.
Well, thank you. And I could, if anybody wants a copy of the Clark Credo,
yes,
somebody always, at least once a day, they think that's clever, and I think there's power in writing our own credo. That would be a great assignment that we could all take seriously. Once you click off Linda's show today, that you sit down and you write, you come up with your own personal credo. And it's similar to writing a song. And so when my buddies call me and say, Clark, can you write a love song for my wife or my girlfriend or my significant other? I always have them write the mushiest letter they possibly can. They don't try to rhyme it. They don't try to put it in verse. They just capture their feelings, their memories. And then after the fact, we edit so every word pays its own way. And we consolidate it into that 2-paragraph or whatever credo. And that's a powerful and quick way to own what our real belief system is, what our core values really mean to us, void of anyone else. And it's amazing how that credo can inspire us every single day in the midst of fake news and bombardment and wondering what are we to believe in COVID? I mean, what are we to do? I think instead of worrying so much about the future, if we can just do our very best to do whatever we can do right now, to be the best versions of ourselves right now, to make a difference right now, to serve someone today right now, that's the best and quickest way we're going to heal America, I believe.
I love it. I love it. It's so true. And so I'm gonna keep going on with questions, Dan. Do you have until 12:30? You have another half hour?
Yeah, that's what I planned on. I'm like, I hope that's okay. My clothes have gone out of style just since I started to flap my jaws. I kind of went on for way too long.
No, this is great.
I keep pointing you out. As soon as I pointed you out again, you backed up. Your body language like, Clark, leave me alone. I just want to listen. But now I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have a question? You fascinate me for some reason, Miss Rasmussen.
Oh, you're muted there.
Yeah, I do have a question, and thank you.
Tell me about you first, just quickly. I want to know all about you.
I've been an entrepreneur for 40 plus years. I'm with a company that's very male oriented. I'm telling you this because this is the basis of the question I'm about to ask. In fact, 20 years ago, they wouldn't let the women really didn't encourage women to sell. I became one of the top women in that company. I'm getting and I think as I've gotten older, and I am married to a real man, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten less and less tolerant of hearing from the man in terms of how to sell things, how to do your business, et cetera, et cetera. And I was part of an organization that within our company that started called Ladies of Justice. I have just heard, you are the bridge. You are a man who speaks woman. And that's, I'm listening to, and I'm not even going to name his name. I think he's famous, but I don't know. He had something to do with football. I'm not a sports addict. I don't follow sports. That's just not my thing. And everything's a sports analogy. I once said that Michael Jackson played basketball. That's how bad my sports analogies are. But the question is, how do, and I do want to continue this conversation because I am going to get you in front of these guys because we're in a period of time, I think, where men are somewhat open. We have had within our company, we've had a huge influence on the men. In fact, they started copying us. They started doing what we were doing, but I still hear these sexist things coming out of their mouths. And I still hear this, and it's all this, go get them, Buster, let's kill them, let's go out there and I'm at a point in my life where it totally disgusts me. I don't want to talk to men anymore.
Good.
So I don't know what I've just asked you, but in there might be a question.
I was going to say, is there a question there, Lorna?
Yeah.
Let me just share an incredible experience, and I want you all to weigh in on this. So I was a judge of the Miss USA beauty pageant. And I don't know if I'm proud of that or not, but back in the day, it was like check the box, I'm a macho man, this is kind of cool. And the USA pageant is different than the America pageant because there's no talent. You put so much emphasis on the interview. And all 51 contestants, I seemed to make them cry. Not on purpose, but because of the questions I was asking them, like, why are you doing this? Like, really, what's it about? And I learned so much about life and reality and hiding behind masks and who we really are and personal authenticity in that whole experience. And then it came time for the pageant, and judges aren't supposed to talk, but we're kicking each other under the table. And we'd already decided who was going to be the winner, Miss USA, and who was the first runner-up. And it came to the 5 finalists. They come out on stage, and the 4 of them are put in a sequestered soundproof booth, so that each one from the MC, each one of them was asked the exact same question, and they had a chance to respond. The young lady comes out who we had all decided was going to be the winner anyway. And the question was, when is a woman equal to a man? And the entire audience and television, everybody that kind of went, and we're judges going. And she goes off on, I just want world peace. And, and I kind of went into the ditzy answer, and we're all like, really? How tragic. So she leaves, and the second young lady is brought out on stage, who we had already decided was the first runner-up. And she's asked the exact same question. When is a woman equal to a man? And without even thinking about it, she just looks straight into the camera. She says, a woman is only equal to a man when she acts like a woman. And we all kicked each other under the table. I still probably have the dent. And she wins. So now fast forward, I'm the keynote speaker at a women's conference at the University of Illinois in Champaign, Illinois. The only 2 speakers on the program, 7,500 women in this basketball arena. The only 2 speakers are me and Dr. Phil. And afterwards, and I remember sharing that experience and kind of hearing a hushed silence and having their minds start to just go 100 miles an hour, like, okay, what does that mean to me? And then after the fact, I had about 3 hours in the green room before I had to go to the airport. And so I'm with all these women who planned this event and who had, run their own women's organizations. And I said, you know what? I've been here all day. And every single man in your life should have been here to hear what I heard. And the woman, the CEO of the organization, she says, that's the problem. If our men were here, we wouldn't have talked about the things that we talked about. And I said, that's the problem. So to your point, Lorna, we have to create a safe environment where we can actually have a vulnerable, open conversation. But having said that, someone weigh in, Cynthia Peel, weigh in. I've been watching your reaction. A woman is only equal to a man when she acts like a woman. I've had a lot of time to process that, but I just blew your mind. Your hair even kind of went, whoa. What do you think? What does it mean to you? Teach us all, my friend.
I typed into the chat at birth, a woman is equal. She doesn't have to do anything or be anything or try anything different. She is equal because she is.
Okay. So keep going. I'm not going to interrupt. Keep going, girl.
I have a lot to say, but not necessarily on that topic, because we don't need defending. We don't, we are who we are.
Okay, so we'll come back to you so you can keep talking about what you want to talk about. But may I just make a point?
Sure. I got my hand up.
Linda.
To Lorna's point and to my observation, the differences between men and women are so extraordinary. And when you finally tune into your natural nurturing, your natural desire for community, your natural desire to want to communicate at a deeper level, your natural intuition, your natural wisdom beyond your years, which is so different than what are natural qualities and tendencies of men, that's where I come up with, oh my gosh, I put you on a pedestal. And that ties into Lorna. Now the men are copying the women, And back in the day, we're all old enough to remember, oh, you got to get back in touch with your feminine side. No, I don't. I have to get in touch with the right side, with the communication side, with the unconditional love, the non-judgmental friendship, the everything that you women champion as a natural quality and attribute from birth, Cynthia, as you said.
Right.
But let's not say when we're born we're all equal, because we're not. There's a huge difference between the natural qualities and beautiful attributes of a woman versus a man.
Well,
I believe that in my heart of hearts. Do you agree?
Well, that's exactly what I share with my I'm a mother of 4 sons.
Oh my gosh.
And I have this conversation with my boys all the time. I'm married to a real man. I have a wonderful husband, and we, you know, I've had this conversation with my sons all the time. We talk about their strengths and my strengths, and we sit around as a family and talk about our roles and what their roles will be with their future wives, and how, you know, we stand up, me and my husband stand up together, and we talk about, you know, how we complement each other, and how, you know, we're not in competition, but how we, you know, each of us have our own complementary roles, and how, you know, that's how our family unit works. And it's wonderful. And I have certain talents, and my husband has certain talents, and we don't compete against each other. And I think it works really, really well. And, you know, I have certain attributes and things that I can shine in, and he has certain things that he shines in, and I don't step on his toes and he doesn't step on mine. And it's not necessarily that he's dominant in other areas or that I'm dominant. I probably am the more aggressive, assertive one in the family, but it doesn't matter. He's, you know, he has his way of doing things, and I have my way of doing things. And so it's just, like you said, we're not, I believe that we're equal as far as certain things, but we definitely are different, unique individuals. And I think every individual person should be celebrated and glorified in each, you know, how they are. And we should all try to be the best that we can be.
I agree. See, I was raised, chivalry's not dead. I was raised that when a woman walks into a room, you stand. You always open the door, you help them with their chair, and that's not a sign of male chauvinism, that's a sign of respect. I remember in one meeting back in the White House where about 5 or 6 women came in at different times, and I felt like I was a Catholic mass. I had more exercise that day than I'd had in like 3 weeks. But to Lorna's point, and to your point, Cynthia, this is such a good conversation. I just don't want women to feel like they have to sell out in a man's world and be somebody that they're not. Just celebrate your natural qualities, your natural personality. And I can just feel that as you express what you've been talking to us and teaching us about, Cynthia. Thank you so much. So Linda, you were waving at me. I'll stop talking. Another question. You're teaching me so much and validating what I believed. Thank you.
Well, you know, what's interesting about what you said, Dan, you said about having like that, you know, safe space, right? I originally, when I first had the idea to create the Women Action Takers group, it was all about creating a judgment-free safe zone where we could have these conversations. And then when I realized, you know, after it's been about 2 years now, that, you know, I have all these male mentors that believe in women and uplift women, and, you know, in ways like they support us, you know, whatever words we want to use, it doesn't matter. These are the men that we can bring into, because they also provide that safety zone, right? That judgment-free zone where we can have these kinds of conversations, and they're just real conversations. And I wanted to really quickly though say, like Latara brought up I loved Latara's comment, because she said women are different from men. It's like I don't believe that there's not going to be like an equal playing field. You know, to use another sports term, Lorna, playing field. So, you know, these sports terms they use, there's reasons for them. I don't know why, but, you know, we're never going to be on an equal playing field because we're all different. We're just human beings. I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. You're not a man. I mean, we're both human beings. And like you say, living as myself to my highest power that I can be, and continue to grow every day. Like you said, you know, my goal for tomorrow is to be better than I was today. You know, Patty always talks about today for tomorrow, you know, but it's really about, you know, who am I being? And to me, it's not about man and woman. It's just about me being me. But Latara said, women are different from men, so we cannot compare them. It's like saying an apple is equal to an orange. And I just love that analogy because it's so true, because it really is about, using these terms that help us to see the equality or inequality, and how can we be equal to them when, like, we all have different, I'm not even equal to any of the women here because we all have different experiences in life. That's my thought on it. So
Please. And Patty, I honor you. You've participated more than anyone else. You're laughing, you're holding up signs. You waved at me once. I had to kind of squint. I thought you were flipping me the bird. And I'm like, wow, that's a bad idea.
She was. Just kidding.
But let me just I know Patty wants to weigh in on the conversation, but I know, Linda, I know you're famous for creating these anthologies, these amalgamations, a book of an amalgamation of people's experiences. Just because we're all entrepreneurs, maybe your next book needs to be a real man and a real woman. From your perspective, there you go, girl, Cynthia, I see that. And that's why Linda reached out, because I complained that I was not in that book. I'm like, where was the invitation for me to weigh in? Come on, what about my needs?
Oh my God.
But you could actually, what you're teaching me on this show is, and what you're validating as far as some of my own beliefs, that would be worth putting in a book. And remember, we're all about word count, and I've written 35 books. And you've put together some books. But I could just visualize, remember, the tragedy in the book business is 87% of books that are purchased are never read. So it's all about the title. It's the catchy title. For us to buy them, turn it into a gift book. That was one of my contributions to Chicken Soup, was the marketing. Turn it into a gift book. When you don't know what to say, give it away. The male's inability to communicate at a deeper level, when you go through a devastating divorce, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, a crucial conversation, and we don't know what to say, you come to the rescue and you say, give it away. Someone calls you, Cynthia, my marriage is going south and I don't know what to do. And you say, well, if you have that kind of a relationship right now, how about if you have him read page 62 through page 65 and then call me on Thursday? And you could have this as your next amalgamation of just each one of you women on this call weigh in on what you believe is a real woman, especially, what was her name? Not Lorna, Latara. What was her name?
Latara, yeah, Latara.
Latara, what another beautiful, gorgeous name. The differences between men and women. I mean, it could even be humorous, that blah, 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 and have almost a section. You could almost have, a real woman and then a real man upside down. So you actually have to turn the book over to read. You could play with that kind of a marketing idea. And I could just see guys like me or women like you buying 10 copies, 20 copies and giving it to our friends and loved ones. And in the right moment, you give it to your man and you say, I need you to read this. Tell me what you think.
How many of you want to be in that book with me and Dan?
I think it would just be extraordinary. I think we should do it. And anyway,
let's do it, Dan.
I'm taking up your precious time. May I be so bold to just invite her on? Linda, is that okay?
Yes, of course.
She needs to unmute, I see, but.
You called me. I'm so engrossed and just like all in that, I didn't hear my name. So Dan, what a joy to be with you again this morning. I met you at Secret Knock and we just had this wonderful love affair, just like nobody else was in the room, right? Thousands of people. And I just remember looking up at you. First of all, you walked into the room and then you walked onto stage and you were introduced. And from the get-go, no, you didn't need an introduction. You stepped up there and you just were on all the way. I was laughing hysterically because I got it, right? It's that old saying, I got it. People think that I laugh because I'm laughing at them, but I'm not. I'm just, oh my God, it makes so much sense, right? So here's something that came through. That the other day, I work with life, death, and all of that good stuff, right? People, have fear of death. And you mentioned, I heard you say that when you were 8 years old was when you experienced fear, right? So the other day, I was talking with this woman who's making these life changes, and she's so afraid of dying. And I said, I'd like you to do something. Are you open for a suggestion? So I'd like you, Dan, to talk on this piece that I offered her. I said, get a Post-it note, get a bunch of them, and write this statement. This is it. And she said, okay, I'm ready. What's the statement? And she's holding up her Post-it note. Well, what do I write? I said, this is it. And she said, I know, this is it, but what do you mean? And I said, this is it. This is all you've got. This moment is all you have. And if you're sitting here worried about dying or somebody else dying, or your world needs to be different, you've missed this moment. And she just went, oh my God, and just bawled. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit of this is it, because when I'm around you, when I heard Linda say you were coming on, I said, oh my God, I can't miss that. And I had other things, and I switched everything around because I will never forget you. And I keep your book right here, one of your books right here. And I always open it up to say, Ms. Amazing, you inspire me. And those words written in this little book keep me going. So I want to thank you for that. And also, if you would share a little bit about this is it.
No, thanks. And I remember you so well, and that's why I'm just amused at how animated you've been this entire conversation, because you illuminated the room when you lit up. And I think you were the first one that beelined to me when I got through speaking. And, you know, that's never happened to me my entire career. So I'm like, finally, it's happened. I can tell, I can brag that this woman chased me down and almost tackled me with love. So, I know you're such a good human being. You know, that's really, you know, I saw, you know, some of you have already entered into the chat. That's so profound. This is it. You know, as I confessed at the beginning of this conversation, I love to quantify my ideas. And one that just came to mind is that if you spend your entire life or your entire day wondering if your glass is half empty or half full, you've missed the point. It's refillable. Thinking positively or thinking negatively does not fill up the glass, the pouring does. And another powerful quote, which ties into what you're saying, Patty, it's easier to act your way into positive thinking than it is to think your way into positive action. It's not the sugar that makes the tea sweet, it's the stirring. It's the process. So what we have to do is take action. That's the most important thing we can do to help us recover from COVID-19, from the pandemic, is not to be victims, but to be victors by just focusing in on a service before self mentality. Again, to tie into my lyrics, so people leave us saying, I like me best when I'm with you, I want to see you again. So, you know, let me tie into the biology and physiology of my recovery from my football injury. You realize that I wouldn't even be on this call if I had not been paralyzed all those years ago. I've spoken to almost 6 million people now. Linda in the introduction mentioned 5 million. And I would have never spoken to one and had the opportunity to touch anybody's life, make them laugh and think and feel and cry if I had not been paralyzed. Which means that my paralysis is clearly one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Now don't misunderstand. My accident, my injury wasn't one of the best things that happened to me, but who I became as a man and what I learned about priorities and time and communication as a result of that setback clearly makes it one of the best things that ever happened to me. So in that sense, what we have to do is begin again with the mindset. And that's where this is it becomes so powerful. What can you do right now with what you have? And as I said about the Uber analogy, if you lie about where you are, the directions won't work. So, I have a story that I could share, but we're running out of time. Do you have a little bit of extra time, Linda? I could just share a powerful story or not?
Yeah, we can go, because I do have another meeting at 12:45.
Maybe you'll have me back.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I'd love to invite Dan to come back. And actually, Dan, I'd like to just tell you, I was going to invite you, but I'm going to just tell you instead, that I'm going to have you in my book called The Fearless Entrepreneurs, because it's a perfect fit for you, or you are a fearless entrepreneur. So I would be honored to have you in that book.
Oh, thanks.
First, I was just going to tell you, like, I guess I'll invite you.
Thanks, Patty. We only have a couple of minutes. Keep talking, Patty. I'll stop.
Yeah, no, what I want to do is, I wanted to touch on what Lorna, the conversation. I know I went into the margin. I'm known as margin girl because I'll go into the margin and spew, right? But at the same time, though, I wanted to add to that conversation that when I was a little girl, my father always said, take care of yourself. No one else can take care of you like you can. And he also said, you can do anything you set your mind to, as good as a man, if not better. So never think of yourself as I'm just a girl, and now as women, I'm just a woman. That I just needed to add that piece that came before this other part where I just got so excited about sharing.
I agree. So let me just share the biology and physiology of my injury and my recovery. So what we learned, so you don't think it's a raw recovery or that it was a miracle, what happens is we now know that when we only focus in or answer or define a how and a what, it only engages our brain, it only engages our mind. But when we identify a clearly defined why and a compelling want, which is the goal, it engages both our head and our heart. And so physiologically and biologically, what happens is, and it's proven through medicine, that when we identify a why and a want and engage both our head and our heart, our blood actually pumps more rapidly, our brains fire, and our muscles engage. And when we only focus in on a how-to or a what, no such emotional experience occurs. So may I conclude just with this little quick story. So I volunteer at a primary children's hospital at the University of Utah campus, very famous children's hospital, 2 days a week. And you have to have special permission, a special clearance to go into the emergency room for different reasons, probably safety reasons. And because I'm classified as a service missionary, just there to minister, warm towel, warm blanket, comfort, whatever we can do, pray, whatever we can do to help these folks. And one day I'm in the emergency room. When I walk through the doors with the special code and I go into this room, here stands tall and straight and proud a Native American in traditional garb, lots of turquoise, belt buckle, cowboy boots, standing there, long black ponytail down his back, kind of striped with silver hair, signs of age and wisdom. I said, I'm here, I'm Dan Clark, how may I serve you? And he didn't say one thing, just stared straight ahead. And I said, sir, I'd really like to see what I can do, warm blanket, comfort, can we go in the corner, pray or whatever? And this gentleman looks me in the eye and he says, can you dance? And I said, I don't know. And if you come to my home and you come to my basement, I have amazing artifacts and gifts, antiquities from Indian reservations, from Native American nations, as I've spoken to the Cree Indian Nation and the Sioux in South Dakota, and the list goes on and on. I have amazing gifts given to me from Indian chiefs that mean so much to me, and they're sacred and whatever. So I've had this sweat lodge experience, and I understand what a medicine man is. And my mind immediately went to this gentleman in the emergency room must be a medicine man because they dance as part of their culture. And he says, can you dance? And I said, I don't know. I said, I'm willing. Can you teach me to dance? And he said, yeah. He said, I can teach you to dance, but you must hear the music. And because I'm a songwriter and I'm an author, immediately when that day of service was over, I wrote down, we learn the dance steps with our head, but we hear the music with our heart. And what we need to do under Linda's tutelage is to somehow talk about the right things at the right time, as Ruth weighed in, as you all have weighed in, where we somehow go out of our way to make sure we connect the head with the heart in every conversation, in every one of your shows, or no change occurs. We've all been raised to believe that knowledge is heart, but knowledge is power, but knowledge has no heart. We don't learn to know, we learn to do. All the information in the world is going to make a person successful. It's like the guy who has 3 PhDs, one in philosophy, one in psychology, one in sociology. He doesn't have a job, but at least he can explain why. Moral of the story, and the way I conclude, reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action. Reason leads to conclusions, but it is emotion that leads to action, which in my mind, as I weighed in on your networking before Linda brought me on live, it still boils down to the story. Every one of you has a unique story, a unique interpretation. And I challenge you to start polishing it and perfecting it so that you feel comfortable and proud enough to share it with the world, so that everybody leaves us saying, I like me best when I'm with you. I want to see you again. If I can help any of you, you go on my website again, danclark.com. You can see my public speaking courses. You can see everything that I have offered or that I've quantified. And I turn it back to you, Linda. I honor you. I love you. I can't wait to join all of you again. And thanks for welcoming me and making me feel so important.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, everybody, was this amazing or what? Yes, we all have those little hearts. I actually drew a heart now because I wanted to be able to show it. But Dan, thank you so much for being here. I wanted this to be a different kind of, networking event than we normally do. Normally we go around the room and introduce the speaker, but I knew that there would be a lot of questions, and I knew that you would drop, a whole lot of value bombs, and I wanted to make sure everybody, as many people as possible had an opportunity to ask questions and just, tune in and stuff. So Dan, we will definitely have you back in 2021, and we'll just coordinate on a date, and I'm really looking forward to it. And just, it's lunchtime over here at my household, so lunch is starting to be made over there. But Dan, yeah, definitely everybody loved it. It was fantastic. I'm in awe of how he speaks. I'm so glad I joined today. Wow, this was amazing. Knowledge bombs, just everything. So Dan, thank you. Thank you so much.
The dream would be to be able to get together belly to belly at some point in San Diego and swap stories, as Patty and I did, face to face, and as you and I have done several times, Linda. So
yeah,
God bless all of you. You have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I wanted to share, ladies, and Dan, even if you want to, also, our next event starts at 12:45, so in 10 minutes. Forbes Riley has already, hopped into the group here. She's going to be our speaker for our 12:45. If you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. So please. I have another training on a Saturday. Go figure. But yeah, let me just take one moment to selfishly help introduce Forbes Riley. Yes, please. She's one of those unique human beings, and I say unique because she's beautiful outside, obviously, but very beautiful inside, with her unique twist as an energy source. That if you ever feel down, if you ever feel lonely, if you ever feel alone in a crowded room, lonely in a loved one's arms, that although she's a financial wizard, although she understands her subject matter expertise, she's one you never want to miss when you have an opportunity to sit at her feet and learn her wisdom, learn from her experience. And, she and I haven't spent a lot of belly to belly time together, but I've tuned into her wisdom so many times, and we've had an opportunity to share many programs, many platforms, many stages together. So this is a powerful day for you, Linda. It's a powerful day for all of you. I don't think any one of you should miss it. And again, in the mindset of chicken soup, when you don't know what to say, give it away. I challenge all of you to start inviting other women. Maybe you have a specific meeting where you invite your men, your significant others, onto the program, and you get some sassy guy like me who doesn't care what anyone thinks to just share the wisdom of the ages, as Lorna needs a wingman every once in a while, as you all do, and drag your man on and say, this guy's an old football player and a songwriter who writes crazy songs like "Had I Shot You When I Met You, I'd Be Out of Jail by Now." How can I miss you if you won't go away? So there will be some entertainment value, and then we can drop a few bombs and wake up your men.
But in the meantime, Forbes Riley is all that in a bag of chips. I love her. Make sure you tell her that I honor her, and I can't wait to share the program.
Oh, I'm right here, baby. I'm already listening to you.
Oh my gosh.
I've been spying on you.
You're so amazing. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you. Look at you.
I know she's all ready to go out. She's all fancy, Dan.
I'll get off and virtual
No,
hugs.
don't be
Forbes. I
going
can't wait
anywhere
to see
in
you
your
again.
beautiful little house there.
You're
I
so
would be
fun.
listening on you.
Well, I should have known. I would have started sucking up to you 10 minutes ago. You know, it's one of
There
those.
you go. You can still suck up to me. There's plenty of time. So, ladies, how did he do? How did Dan do? What do we think? Give him a big round of applause.
He was amazing.
Amazing.
Well, so Patty, what was one of the big takeaways from Dan?
Oh yeah, put the pressure on. Come on, be nice. Please be nice.
God, are you kidding? Takeaways, all of them. It's just, he's so inspirational in the whole idea of being here now, which is how I love to live. And he just stamped it as, yeah, keep being here today for tomorrow.
He's just excited to be around by this much estrogen. Don't kid yourself.
He did an okay job.
Because 7th grade was my senior year, I didn't know how to spell estrogen, so I was afraid to actually use that. But thanks for bringing that up.
That is so funny. Lorna, what was one of your big takeaways from Dan Clark? The man.
And don't be a victim, be a victor in this time. We can design what happens in a time of COVID. We don't have to be victimized by it.
Wow, I love that. That's actually a really important statement. I hear that way too often. Ruth, you're nodding your head. What's one of your big takeaways from Dan, the man?
One of the analogies he used from Albert Einstein, he reminded me that I cannot expect like the fish climb a tree, and that brought something to me about something that happened yesterday. So I have
You
to.
know what, he's old enough to actually have gone to lunch with Albert Einstein. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I was a cheerleader for
What?
Ben Burr.
No, I love, when I first heard the story about the fish climbing a tree, that was like, that's brilliant, isn't it?
It is. It's so brilliant. Well, I'm going to weigh out, and you get younger every day, so you should start talking about skincare and everything else that makes you beautiful from the inside out. There we go. Yeah.
There we go. The spin gym.
Thanks, Forbes. Thanks, Linda. And I can't wait to interact again. You all have a wonderful day, and God bless. Love you, Forbes. Have a wonderful experience.
Dan,
Thank you
nice
so
to
much,
see you
Dan.
too.
Appreciate it. It was fantastic. Well, Dan already did